Hello. Hi, I'm Colin Echo, and I want to provide you with a decent understanding on what internet security means to people, especially in a situation or day and age where we're having government corporations and companies lobby to try to cause and remove any sort of anonymity online. There are multiple ways for you to still remain anonymous to how certain things work. Especially when we're trying to go through and really determine on how people are able to stay anonymous online, because with all this ID verification nonsense and everybody just not really caring, it's really gonna be bad. It's gonna affect everybody. They're already getting into a situation to where we're having to deal with age verification nonsense. So I want to show you a couple of things on what you can do to combat this if you're not really privy into this. The only thing I could think that would probably make the most sense when it comes to age verification is if it's the Apple ecosystem, because that's more of a family thing. But for stuff like Windows, stuff like Linux specifically, I don't really think that it should be a thing. And even if it is an Apple device, you should still have the option to opt out of it, or at least have them, make it to where you're not being forced to do it. Because that's basically what they're doing. They're trying to force you to dox yourself. I remember back in the day when I was in high school and in middle school and in elementary school, they always said to keep your online footprint really low. Well, the problem with that is a lot of these companies nowadays, especially when it comes to Facebook and Meta AI, they are trying to make it to where people have to then reveal themselves. The problem with that is a lot of these companies end up getting hacked. A lot of these third-party companies end up getting hacked because the systems that they put in place are vibe-coded nonsense being used with AI in tandem with that bullshit, so it doesn't work. And the problem with that is even if it did work, it still wouldn't be good. And for the most part, it doesn't work at all. There's been plenty of cases every single time so far. The track record is, they go ahead and put in a system in place to verify your age. Well, guess what? That just got hacked by a bunch of hackers and it got leaked. So, what is the solution to all this? There are multiple things you can do. But I do want to show you a couple things before we go into that. So, when it comes to stuff like Ageless Linux, we'll get to that in a minute. But I do want to share something, because I just saw this stuff in the morning. 2 members of Congress have been quietly merging 2 separate site blocking bills into one. Representative Zoe Lofgren of California, Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina's bill would let copyright holders petition federal courts to order American internet service providers and DNS resolvers to block entire foreign domains. That means even if you are on a internet service provider, an ISP, if you wanted to go to a JP, a UK, an Australia, a foreign domain that is not relative to your current place in America, they want to block that. They want to make it to where you're not able to access that. They want to put it on a domain block list because they're going to want to use their own DNS resolvers to block the entire foreign domains. Which is a huge problem, because that then creates issues for people. Because then imagine if other countries decide to do that. Who's Codeberg maintained by? What is Codeberg maintained by? Where's Codeberg at? Codeberg, a service that I use, is located in Germany. If the US wanted to block that service from being used, they would have to block the domains coming from Germany. Which is a huge issue, as people are moving from GitHub to Codeberg, and then a problem like this pops up. Nobody wants this, but yet people are still doing this. Nobody wants this at all. Everybody said it. Every tech reviewer has stated it. This had just came out today. But there was a thing that they're trying to do. They're trying to say, oh, online piracy. Well, that was the thing that got shot down in 2012. Well, in 2026, it got shut down again. But they're looking for a loophole to try to tell the ISPs to block a list of foreign domains, ISPs, and DNS resolvers to block on receipt, which you would think that it would block piracy. You would think that it would block sites that promote piracy, like the Pirate Bay, like other sites, stuff like that, like ROM downloading sites. You'd think that would happen, right? Well, there is issues with this, because imagine if the piracy site shares the same cloud source that Codeberg uses. Well, guess what? You cannot use Codeberg unless you set up your own DNS resolver. Then at that point, you may as well just self-host your shit. You may as well just self-host it. I do not like where this is headed. We have went from censorship laws to PayPal and other companies censoring games being on Steam to now people want to control the internet. Now people are wanting to change how we view the internet. Now they're wanting to break up the internet. That way you can't even view sites you'd normally go on, even if they are foreign or domestic or not. Most sites on the internet are mostly not made in America. America may have the internet as a database, but we receive everything. So what's going to happen to those sites when nobody can access them? They're going to die. They're not going to be used unless somebody knows how to use a DNS resolver in order to resolve that DNS issue. This is a huge issue. This is 100% a huge problem. Not only that, not only is this a huge problem to where they're going to start blocking parts of the internet, because they are trying to do this. They're trying to lock your ability via going through your ISP itself to do that. That means that you would have to set up your own device. You'd have to get your own Docker install going. You'd have to get your own DNS resolver install going. You'd essentially have to buy another device to make it to where you can use the internet like you normally would in like 2026. I mean like 2023, 2022. It's fucking stupid. Not only that, right around the corner, Google comes out and they're stating, oh, that they're wanting to abandon the SMS verification codes, but they want to do it via QR codes. This is going to affect things like Graphene OS. Which, by the way, Graphene OS is a very secure OS that you can use. And that you should use. See, if you wanted to install Graphene OS, what you'd actually have to do is you'd have to click on install, and you'd be given an installation command as well as a web helper. This works on Windows, Mac, and I believe it also works on Linux. And what you can do is you can get a compatible phone, which I think they are even expanding their releases as well on which phones that can be installed to. But you also have to have supported devices. And your devices have to be unlocked, which not a lot of devices currently have an unlocked bootloader. But the problem with that is if you're having a de-Google device or a device that can then quarantine apps in the device, and they're requiring you to do a Google authentication, well, that just takes down one of the walls that kind of makes it to where people, don't want to be tracked using Graphene. Well, Graphene's a really secure OS when it comes to using your phone, if you're wanting to use something with like the utmost privacy. People are trying to slander the OS by saying that it's a illegal OS. It is not an illegal OS. It may not be the default Android operating system, but at its core it is still Android. However, it is making it to where it is able to be installed on certain devices, and soon eventually maybe Motorola devices, depending on if their current contract goes through. And the fact that Graphene OS can be used at all on Google Pixels should tell you a lot. Because I do eventually want to get a Google Pixel, and I do eventually want to put Graphene OS on it. But I can't do that right now because I just don't have the ability to do that at the moment. Another thing, people are always talking about needing to have an online chat client. Well, there's Element, there's Cine, there's a whole bunch of other chat clients for this to use on Matrix. Matrix is still getting a bunch of updates, but it is a way to stay anonymous. It's not the most up-to-date network when it comes to doing things, but if you can get people to, you know, make an Element or Matrix account, download it and use it on their system, and choose one that has a voice chat, then you should be good. There's also stuff like Fluxer, which this app right here would work on Linux, and it's basically a Discord clone. So, and it also has a mobile app now. So there is alternatives in case the shit does hit the fan. Mobile VPN is a VPN service that actually does not log anything that you have, albeit the thing at the top of the website, because they need to know where you're located, apparently. Regardless, they do provide you with the ability to stay anonymous. You do have downloads available. You do have the ability to, you know, purchase from them. But, you know, you can use their VPN, you can use their browser. You get the control on what you can do. And this is the most secure VPN out there that you can get per month. So if you absolutely need a VPN for whatever you're doing, I hope it's not illegal, but for whatever you're doing, you can use Mulvad VPN. They got raided by the feds. The feds found nothing at all. So I would recommend it. Telescale. Now, Telescale is promoting AI. I do think that's a pretty shitty thing to do, but Telescale is a way for you to install Telescale on a device, and then what you could do is you can use this to create a VPN to go to another country or another state. It lets you, you know, choose which machines you want it sent to. You can choose which machines you want to have it to be selected with to be able to use Mulvad VPN. Depending on how you have it hooked up, you can hook up a network bridge. You can do all that stuff, and it can make it to where it's quite easily able to be used, especially when it comes to like filtering things. Pi-hole. Now with Pi-hole, what you can do is, this is for network-wide ad blocking. So say you don't want to watch ads on any device in your home, you can install Pi-hole on a Raspberry Pi. You can install it on a thin client. You can install it on a spare computer. You can have that Pi-hole network go into your devices, and you can choose which devices are going into it, and you can make it to where you're not having to worry about like ads popping up on your TV, for example. Now, do some companies don't like that? I mean, that's the thing, like especially on YouTube. So if you did want to support your favorite creators, especially on YouTube and Twitch, get Twitch Turbo, get YouTube Premium if you can, and then whitelist those sites if you need to. However, I can't tell you what to do, so good luck. But the main idea of this whole video is to go over Ageless Linux. Now, why did I bring up the other apps? Well, the world's going to shit. That's why I brought them up. But we have Ageless Linux right here. So how do you install Ageless Linux? So what I want to do, so we're going to grab a Fedora installation. Actually, I might just use the existing CachyOS installation. But, so how do you do this? How do you install Ageless Linux? Let me show you. Gotta turn the computer on. And I did want to make this a short video, because I have other things I want to do. But, I do want to make sure that it is actually out here to be able to be told that, what needs to be done with this. So with stuff like this, booting into CachyOS, for example, so I believe Ageless Linux has a way to install it on Arch. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and log into Cachy real quick. And you should be caring about your privacy. You should be caring about your computer. This is your computer you bought. You bought this computer so you could surf the web. So you can do whatever the fuck you want with your computer at that point. As long as it's legal. I'm gonna have to emphasize the legality. As long as it's legal. Okay? Don't go too crazy. But what you can do is you can actually, yeah, look some shit up. I didn't know CachyOS used a systemd. Don't judge me. What you can do, I'm using DuckDuckGo for this. Ageless Linux. So you can grab Ageless Linux. You can go ahead and go to their site. You can download the OS, You could convert any Linux system. So if you wanted to do any standard mode right here, you can actually just grab their script right here. You can go ahead and open up your console. Hit enter. And look at this. Ageless. Software for humans of indeterminate age. Because it's ageless. CachyOS. Installed, it's active. Everything else is kind of here. Following changes will be made on this system. Backup, rewrite, backup, rewrite, create. So it creates everything. Systemd UCB will not be reloaded during this session. Usually it will take effect on your next login and reboot. Revert all changes later. You can always revert it. Reverting the system to Ageless Linux, you acknowledge that you are becoming an operating system provider as defined by California Civil Code 1798.500G. As of January 1st, 2027, you were required by 1798501A1 to provide an accessible interface at an account setup that requires an account holder to indicate the birthday, age, or both of the user of the device. Ageless Linux provides no such interface. Ageless Linux provides no reasonably consistent real-time application programming interface for age bracket signals as required by the I798501A2. You may be subject to civil penalties of up to $2,000 per affected child per negligent violation, or $7,500 per affected child per intentional violation. This is intentional. Lucky for me, no child is accessing this fucking system. Not a single child is accessing this fucking system. This isn't a system for an adults, and this OS will probably be wiped later when I do a different review on a different OS. For like VTubing. You accept the illegal terms non-interactively, so it backs up everything. It goes ahead and changes your indeterminate birth date probably around the time when, the beginning of the world happened. When users neutralized, conversion complete, you're now running Ageless Linux Timeless based on CachyOS Linux. You're now an operating system provider as defined by California Civil Code, which the California Civil Code that they are referencing is very fucking vague because they do not know how technology works and they want to obfuscate any sort of idea thinking that there are people who are illiterate on the internet. So, yeah, this is what happens. Now, this is just a fresh install. I did install, like, some things with, like, iProxy2 VTS and stuff, but this is just a fresh install. So, this will work. This will work on damn near every Linux distribution you might have. I can't guarantee if it's going to work on Bazite. even if that was the case, I'm pretty sure somebody would make a rebase for it. But welcome to Ageless Linux. You have no idea how old we are. Log out and log back into reboot for the changes to take effect. So in order for this to take effect, you need to go to your session, you need to log out. Log out now. It's going to take you here. Go ahead and restart your computer. And you can always revert these changes. These changes are always revertible. It's Linux. You can always change it back. So now we're going to be booting into an Ageless Linux version of CachyOS. And if you were to go to your settings about the system, it's going to open up everything because KDE loves doing that. Ageless Linux, and it's based on CachyOS. So basically, Ageless Linux has every mirror that CachyOS should have, if that's the case. I'm not going to 100% guarantee that this is going to be perfect, but this is a solution for people who want to stay on their current version of their system. So, it's easy as that. And basically, since it is duplicating apps and it is doing stuff like that, I think if I were to open up something like Bazaar, you're running a new version of Bazaar. You'd still be able to access all your FlatHub apps, all your apps, you know, stuff, maybe even stuff in your repos. Let's see, your package installer. You know, you can still access everything here. Yeah. You can still access all your repos here. So I'm sure all the repos ended up getting copied. So you'll still have access to everything. It's just, it just converts your system into an Ageless Linux install, but it's based off CachyOS. So it's going to still have everything CachyOS has. Now, if you ever needed to update your OS for any reason, you can always revert the changes, update your OS, and then reapply the changes if you want to. It is like any other Linux distribution, so if you wanted to do this, you can. It's just entirely up to you. And that's basically it. That is basically what Ageless Linux does. Ageless Linux does not really care about what your age is. It thinks the whole age verification bullshit or ID verification bullshit is actually just bullshit, because that's basically what it is.